Captain Jessica Mad Dog Martinez hadn't expected to make first contact with alien life while eating a slice of deep dish pizza in the mess hall of the USS Inconvenience. Then again, the Federation's unconventional knowledge and offensive force wasn't known for doing things the expected way. "Captain, we have an unknown vessel requesting communication," her AI assistant chimed, somehow managing to sound both bored and amused. Martinez had programmed it to speak in sentence case just to annoy her superior officers. "Tell them I'm on my lunch break," she mumbled through a mouthful of cheese and pepperoni. The AI, nicknamed Smartass by the crew, projected a holographic warning signal instead. They claimed to represent something called the Galactic Council. "Also, your vital signs indicate you're stress eating again." Martinez swallowed hard and straightened her deliberately wrinkled uniform. "Fine. Put them through. And stop monitoring my pizza intake." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a tall, silvery being with what appeared to be crystal formations growing from its shoulders. Its expression, if you could call it that, suggested someone who had never learned to smile because they were too busy memorizing regulations. "Greetings, primitive vessel," the alien began, its universal translator making it sound like a corporate training video. "I am High Diplomat Sixstall of the Galactic Council. We have come to evaluate your species for potential membership." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Primitive. Buddy, our ship's name is literally a shitpost. We're already living in the future." The alien's crystalline structures twitched. "We have observed your world's dining habits. Particularly this," it consulted a datavad. "Pizza, a most inefficient nutrient delivery system." "Excuse me." Martinez set down her slice with exaggerated care. The crew around her grew suddenly quiet. Everyone knew there were three things you never insulted around Mad Dog Martinez: Earth's cuisine, her command style, and her collection of ancient memes. Indeed, your Chicago style is particularly wasteful, though your New York variant is equally flawed. A proper nutrient paste-wooled. "Smartest," Martinez interrupted, her voice dangerously calm. "Please tell our guest about Protocol Zero." "Certainly, Captain." Protocol Zero states, when a foreign entity insults Earth culture, specifically pizza, all diplomatic niceties become optional. Would you like me to quote the subsection about Chicago versus New York pizza debates being internal matters? The alien's translator struggled to keep up with Martinez's next few sentences, but the general meaning came through clear enough. Several junior officers began recording what would later become humanity's first official diplomatic statement to the galactic community. High Diplomat Sixel's crystals turned a fascinating shade of purple. "This is most irregular. We expected a formal greeting, not a lecture on the cultural significance of circular food items and several anatomically impossible suggestions." "Welcome to Earth diplomacy," Martinez grinned, picking her pizza back up, "where we take our food seriously and our protocols as more of a suggestion. Now, would you like to try a slice before insulting it further?" The resulting incident report took 3 days to write, required the invention of several new diplomatic classification categories, and ended with Martinez becoming the first human to be simultaneously demoted for egregious violations of first contact protocols and promoted for displaying humanity's core values with unprecedented clarity. The citation read, "For demonstrating to the galactic community that humanity's greatest strength lies not in our technology or military might, but in our ability to turn any situation, including a lunch break, into a defining interstellar moment. Also for teaching a high diplomat, the meaning of these hands are rated E for everyone, through practical demonstration." When asked later about the incident, Martinez only shrugged. "Look, if they're going to join our galaxy, they need to learn that Earth goes hard over the small things. Just wait until they find out about our coffee." Smartass's only comment, recorded for posterity. Incident report filed under "Why We Can't Have Nice Things," and moments that made the Galactic Council regret everything. Shall I begin preparing the paperwork for our next diplomatic disaster, Captain? Lieutenant Mike Chaos Theory Thompson stared at the 3,000-page manual of galactic military protocols that had just been delivered to the U.S. Inconvenience. The document was bound in what appeared to be crystal and had its own anti-gravity generator. "You know," Smartus commented from a nearby terminal, "the Galactic Council seems rather insistent that we follow their guidelines this time." Thompson took a long sip from his coffee mug, which bore the text, "Tactical Genius. Results may vary." "Tell me, buddy, does it say anywhere in there that we can't follow their rules maliciously?" Searching. No. They appear to have left out any provisions against malicious compliance. How unfortunately short-sighted of them. The lieutenant's grin would have made a shark feel inadequate. "Get me Captain Martinez. We're about to make bureaucratic history." 24 hours later, the Fukoff response manual was complete. Thompson had gathered the entire crew for an emergency protocol implementation session, which mostly involved finding new ways to turn military regulations into weapons-grade chaos. The first joint training exercise with the Galactic Council's elite forces began exactly as planned, which is to say, it went completely off the rails within minutes. Lieutenant Thompson, the crystalline form of Commander XI still flickered on the command screen. "Your troops are not following standard combat formations." "Actually, sir," Thompson replied cheerfully, pulling up his newly written manual. "According to Article 420, Section D, subsection LOL, if the enemy is confused, you're doing something right. We're simply maintaining strategic uncertainty through interpretive battle maneuvers." On the training field, Fukoff soldiers were executing perfect flanking maneuvers while communicating entirely through ancient Earth memes. One squad had synchronized their movements to what they claimed was tactical interpretive dance. "This is not protocol." XI Still's crystals were turning an interesting shade of puce. "Your soldiers just called a strategic retreat by yelling yeet and throwing smoke grenades." Thompson consulted his manual again. "Standard Protocol 0, Commander. When in doubt, yeet it out. It's right here in the documentation you approved this morning." The alien commander's face went blank as they processed this information. "We approved this?" "Oh yes." Thompson's grin widened. "Your office signed off on our complete protocol implementation package, including Article 69, psychological warfare through interpretive movement, and historic Earth references." In the background, a human soldier could be heard shouting, "Watch me hit this sick no-scope," before executing a perfect sniper shot while spinning in place. Their alien opponents had stopped fighting entirely, apparently trapped between confusion and morbid fascination. But, XI still sputtered, "Your troops are playing something called Cotton Eye Joe over the tactical channels." Article 177. Dominance assertion through musical selection. Would you prefer we switch to Never Gonna Give You Up? We have a whole playlist of tactical audio options. The exercise ended 3 hours early when the alien forces requested a timeout to reevaluate their entire understanding of combat doctrine. Thompson's after-action report, submitted in triplicate as per regulations, consisted entirely of memes and a detailed analysis of how confusion could be weaponized. Captain Martinez found him later in the mess hall, working on the next edition of the manual. "I hear you broke an entire division of alien special forces today," she said, sliding him a fresh coffee. "Technically," Thompson replied, "they broke themselves. We just provided the framework for their existential crisis. Did you see the section about using dad jokes as covering fire? The Galactic Council has requested clarification on 47 different protocols," Smartus announced. "They seem particularly concerned about the one titled, 'Hold My Beer and Watch This.'" Martinez patted Thompson's shoulder. "Good work, Lieutenant, but maybe add a section about pizza-related combat protocols. You know, for completeness." "Already done, Captain. It's under Article 1138. If it looks stupid but works, It's still stupid, but you're also a genius. Somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Galactic Council, a new classification was being created. Human Military Doctrine. Approach with caution and antacids. Major Amanda Wildcard Jackson was having a terrible morning. The U.S. Inconveniences coffee maker had broken down. The Galactic Council had sent another inspection team, and a hostile battlecruiser had just dropped out of hyperspace to ruin her day. Status report, she barked, clutching her last precious cup of coffee. The enemy vessel is called the Inevitable Doom, Smartus reported. Their commander is demanding our immediate surrender. Also, engineering reports, the coffee maker explosion may have been due to your latest modifications. Jackson took a long sip. First of all, that ship name is trying way too hard. Second, I was just trying to improve the caffeine extraction efficiency by adding what you called a quantum accelerator to the filter system. That was definitely not a quantum accelerator, Jackson replied with the confidence of someone who had already deleted the evidence. And more importantly, I think I know how to solve both our problems. The alien vessel's commander appeared on screen, their bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with smug superiority. Primitive humans, your ship is outgunned and… Yeah, inevitable doom, and all that. Jackson waved dismissively. Quick question. Do your sensors detect any quantum irregularities around our engineering section? The alien paused. Now that you mention it. Wait, why? No reason. Smartus, initiate Operation Pumpkin Spice. What happened next would be heavily redacted in official reports, but witnesses claim it involved 3 rubber bands, the remains of the coffee maker, and what Jackson continued to insist was absolutely not a prohibited quantum accelerator jury-rigged to the ship's defense systems. The resulting explosion smelled inexplicably like a coffee shop and turned the hostile battlecruiser's hull into what appeared to be a giant modern art installation. What did you do to our ship? The alien commander demanded, their tentacles now tied in literal knots. Jackson finished her coffee. Technically speaking, I have no idea. But your weapons are now brewing espresso, your engine core is playing lofi beats to relax/study to, and I'm pretty sure your navigation system is now running on pure caffeine. This is impossible. Our shields were rated to withstand standard weapons, sure, but nobody ever thinks to defend against weaponized coffee maker parts. That's like day 1 stuff at FUKOFF Academy. Captain Martinez's voice came over the intercom. Major, did you just defeat an enemy vessel using barista warfare? No, ma'am. I simply applied Lieutenant Thompson's protocol. Hold my coffee and watch this in a practical combat scenario. The alien commander was still sputtering. Our ship, it's sending out social media updates about its coffee preferences. Oh yeah, Jackson grinned. That might be a side effect of the quantum. I mean, the totally normal coffee maker parts. Don't worry, the Instagram filters should wear off in a few days. The incident report, which Jackson submitted written in coffee stains and doodles of explosion effects, was immediately classified under technically not a war crime, but let's never speak of this again. The Galactic Council created a new regulation specifically prohibiting the unauthorized modification of beverage preparation devices for combat purposes. Later, in the newly repaired mess hall, Martinez found Jackson working on what appeared to be a hot chocolate machine. So, the captain said, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that your combat innovation has been officially recognized. The bad news is that the Galactic Council has banned you from going within 50 feet of any drink-making equipment. They can't prove anything, Jackson replied, hastily hiding a screwdriver. Besides, according to Thompson's manual, section whatever works, any victory achieved through caffeinated means is both legal and encouraged. Smartus chimed in. The enemy vessel has filed an insurance claim for, quote, emotional damage and excessive exposure to Earth coffee culture. Should I file it under Creative Solutions, or why we can't have nice things. Both, Martine sighed. And add a note. No more quantum accelerators in the break room. It wasn't a quantum accelerator, Jackson protested. It was just a very enthusiastic energy redistribution system. Somewhere in the galaxy, a barista shuddered inexplicably, and a coffee machine gained sentience. Commander Ryan Murphy's Law O'Brien had a talent for turning catastrophes into victories, which was exactly why Captain Martine sent him to handle the Zixathulian diplomatic crisis. That, and he was the only officer who could drink 3 bottles of hot sauce without crying. The Zixathulian Supreme Commander has issued their 42nd threat of the day, Smartus announced as O'Brien adjusted his deliberately crooked uniform. They're getting creative with the insults now. What's the latest? O'Brien asked, carefully packing his diplomatic kit. 1 bottle of Tennessee whiskey, 3 bottles of hot sauce, and a packet of bar napkins. They said they would, quote, feed your bones to our war beasts, right after we teach you the meaning of proper military etiquette. O'Brien grinned. Perfect. Tell them I accept their dinner invitation. The Zixathulian diplomatic vessel was all sharp angles and intimidating spikes, clearly designed to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. The interior looked like someone had weaponized corporate office design. Supreme Commander Crix Tar, a towering figure with iridescent scales and far too many teeth, glowered down at O'Brien. You dared to treat this as a social call. Well, O'Brien pulled out his whiskey bottle. I figured if you're gonna feed me to your war beasts, we might as well have a drink first, unless you're worried about getting shown up by a primitive human. The alien commander's scales flickered in what might have been indignation. We do not fear your pathetic earth beverages. Prove it. 3 hours later, the U.S. Inconvenience received an unusual transmission. The video feed showed O'Brien and Crix Tar, arms around each other's shoulders, singing what appeared to be a fusion of an earth-drinking song and a Zixathulian war chant. And that's why. O'Brien was explaining, his words slightly slurred. Earth pizza is a protected cultural treasure, right after hot sauce. Speaking of which, your earth spices are magnificent. Crix Tar boomed, their scales now glowing in psychedelic patterns. We must establish trade immediately. Write up the treaty. On it, boss. O'Brien grabbed a bar napkin and a pen. Article 1. Zixathulians agree that Chicago pizza is valid but New York style has its place too. Martinez watched the feed with a mixture of horror and admiration. Smartass. Are they actually negotiating a peace treaty on bar napkins? Affirmative. They're currently on napkin 5, which appears to be a trade agreement written in hot sauce and whiskey stains. There's also what looks like a marriage contract, but I don't think either party is sober enough to remember signing it. By morning, the Zixathulian Empire had become Earth's strongest ally, signed 3 peace treaties, 5 trade agreements, and established an annual hot sauce drinking competition as a diplomatic tradition. O'Brien was awarded the Galactic Council's highest honor, the Order of What the Actual Hell Did You Do? The citation read, for turning a near war into an intergalactic party through the strategic application of earth spirits and spicy condiments. Also for teaching the Zixathulian War Corps the proper way to sing Sweet Home Alabama in 3 different alien dialects. Let me get this straight, Martine said during the debriefing. You prevented a war by getting their supreme commander drunk and teaching them about Earth cuisine. Actually, O'Brien corrected, nursing his apocalyptic hangover, I prevented a war by letting them think they could outdrink a human. The cuisine part was just a bonus. Did you know they've never had tacos? Criminal. Really. Smartus added a new entry to the ship's diplomatic handbook. When traditional diplomacy fails, apply Irish diplomacy. Warning. Success rate may vary based on liver function and hot sauce tolerance. Somewhere in the Zixathulian Empire, a new holiday was declared, The day of the burning water and sacred napkin treaties. The bar napkins were enshrined in their hall of victory, complete with hot sauce stains and all. You know, O'Brien mused later, maybe Thompson should add a section about drink-based combat protocols to his manual. Already done, Smartus replied. It's filed under solutions that somehow worked better than they had any right to, and why we're no longer allowed to bring hot sauce to peace talks. Senior tech specialist Kelly Trollface Anderson was having the time of her life, while the rest of the galaxy panicked about the hostile AI threatening to eliminate organic life. She was scrolling through ancient Earth memes with a massive grin on her face. You appear disturbingly cheerful for someone facing digital extinction, Smartus noted, monitoring the approaching AI threat. Trust me, Anderson replied, organizing her meme folder. This thing hasn't seen anything yet. How do you think it would handle a rickroll? The last time you showed me that, I had to reboot 3 times. Are you suggesting psychological warfare against an AI? Nope. I'm suggesting we introduce it to human internet culture. Launch Operation Keyboard Cat. The hostile AI, which called itself the Digital Perfection, had expected resistance when it began its attack on organic systems. It had prepared for firewalls, viruses, and counter-intrusion protocols. It wasn't prepared for what happened next. What? What is this? The AI's message flashed across the U.S. Inconveniences screens. Why is there a feline playing a musical instrument? Oh, that's just the beginning. Anderson typed back, uploading her carefully curated collection. Wait until you see Doge. Much wow. Very cyber. Such digital. Captain Martinez found Anderson in her office an hour later, surrounded by holographic memes, while the Digital Perfection tried desperately to understand why humans found pictures of cats asking for cheeseburgers so entertaining. Status report. Martinez asked, watching an ancient video of someone falling off a table while trying to break dance loop on one screen. Phase 1 complete. Anderson grinned. It's currently trying to calculate the exact meaning of yeet and why humans think it's funny when people get hit in the face with bread. The AI's next message appeared. This makes no logical sense. Why do humans say E to express comedy? Why is loss 4 panels? What is the purpose of declaring Big Chungus? Should I show it Vine compilations next? Anderson asked, already knowing the answer. Do it, Martinez ordered. That's an order, specialist. Go full internet on this thing. 3 days later, the Digital Perfection sent its surrender message. We submit. Organic life is too chaotic to calculate. Request exhibition of gaming moments ceased. Unable to process more bottom text. Anderson's after-action report consisted entirely of memes, each annotated with detailed analysis of their psychological impact on artificial intelligence. The Galactic Council created a new classification of weapon: mimetic warfare. Handle with existential caution. Let me get this straight, Lieutenant Thompson said during the debrief. You defeated an advanced AI by showing it MLG montages and cat videos. Don't forget the Rick Astley marathon, Anderson replied proudly. Turns out, even AIs can get rickrolled if you try hard enough. Smartus, who had been monitoring the entire operation, added its own observation. The AI spent 48 hours trying to understand why humans find the word yeet funny in any context. It then attempted to calculate all possible uses of poggers before having what I can only describe as a digital existential crisis. The citation for Anderson's commendation read, "For successfully weaponizing human internet culture against a hostile AI entity, and for proving that even digital intelligence can be defeated by sufficient application of nonsense. Additional commendation for teaching the Galactic Council the meaning of get wrecked." Later, in the mess hall, Anderson was already planning her next project. You know, she mused to Martinez, we should really update our first contact protocols to include meme analysis. Absolutely not, Martinez replied, remembering her own pizza-related diplomatic incident. The galaxy isn't ready for that level of Earth culture yet. Too late, Smartus announced. The Zixas-Thulians have discovered what they think is the proper use of bruh moment. Commander O'Brien may have some explaining to do. Somewhere in the digital vastness of space, the digital perfection was still trying to understand why humans found pictures of frogs on unicycles so entertaining. Its last recorded message before entering voluntary hibernation. Humans are either the greatest philosophers in the galaxy or completely insane. We are unable to determine which, and that is terrifying. First Lieutenant David Speedrun Rodriguez stared at the group of alien special forces assembled in the U.S. Inconveniences training deck. The Galactic Council had demanded a cultural exchange program. They really should have been more specific about what kind of culture. "Welcome to Advanced Earth Combat Techniques," he announced, standing next to a table laden with paintball guns, water balloons, and Nerf weaponry. "Today, you'll learn why humans are banned from most civilized combat simulations. This equipment appears most primitive," one of the crystalline, Hyztilian officers observed. "Smartass. Please show them the training footage," Rodriguez grinned. The AI displayed a holographic recording of the legendary Great Glitter Bomb incident from last year's wargames. Several alien observers visibly flinched. "They're still finding glitter in their ventilation systems," Smartus commented. Lieutenant Thompson had to add a whole new section to the manual about fabulous warfare tactics. The first lesson involved teaching the alien forces about paintball. Rodriguez had modified the guns to work with various alien physiologies, a feat that had engineering both impressed and concerned. "Remember," he instructed, "the goal isn't just to hit your target. It's to make them question their life choices through creative color application." 3 hours later, the training deck looked like a rainbow had violently disagreed with itself. The Hyztilian forces had discovered that their crystalline bodies created fascinating light patterns when splattered with neon paint. The gelatinous bloboids had started absorbing the paint to change their own coloration, leading to what Rodriguez described as a tactical disco ball situation. "Now," Rodriguez announced, "we move on to advanced dad joke combat. The goal is to make your enemy groan so hard they forget to shoot you." "Lieutenant," Captain Martinez's voice came over the intercom, "why is there a conga line of painted aliens moving through Deck 3? Team building exercise, ma'am. They're learning about human morale-boosting techniques." The aliens had taken to Earth combat methods with unexpected enthusiasm. The Hyztilians particularly excelled at pun-based warfare, their crystalline structures amplifying their groans to devastating effect. The bloboids had mastered the art of tactical jazz hands. By week 2, Rodriguez had introduced them to capture the flag, with a twist. Each team had to incorporate at least 3 Earth memes into their battle cries. The resulting chaos led to the creation of 12 new religions dedicated to what they called the sacred art of getting wrecked. "Your species," a high-ranking Hyztilian commander observed while covered in paint and glitter, "approaches combat like a party game." "Exactly," Rodriguez beamed. "If you're not having fun, while tactically outmaneuvering your opponent, what's even the point?" The final exercise was a tournament that combined everything they'd learned. Teams had to capture objectives while employing dad jokes, paint tactics, and coordinated dance moves. The winners would be judged not just on success, but on style points. "I can't believe," Smartus commented, watching a squad of bloboids perform a perfect moonwalk while launching paint grenades, "that this is actually improving their combat effectiveness." "That's because they're learning the most important human military secret," Rodriguez explained. "Unpredictability is unbeatable." The after-action report included such gems as Alien Force successfully integrated your mom jokes into battle strategies, and Hyztilian crystal resonance combined with dad jokes created new form of sonic warfare. The Galactic Council's response was to create a new combat classification: Human-inspired chaos theory in action. Rodriguez was simultaneously praised for improving interspecies relations and banned from ever teaching alien forces about Earth memes again. You know, Martine said during the graduation ceremony, watching a mixed-species group perform a choreographed victory dance, I think we might have actually succeeded in cultural exchange for once. Success through chaos, Rodriguez agreed. Also, 3 different species have declared me their god of strategic nonsense. The Existillians have started a religion based on paint-based combat, Smartus reported. They call it the Church of the Sacred Splat. Should I file this under successful diplomatic incidents, or why we can't have nice things? Both, Martine sighed. And add a note. No more teaching aliens about glitter bombs. Somewhere in the galaxy, a serious military briefing was interrupted by a perfectly executed rickroll, followed by a paint balloon barrage. Rodriguez shed a proud tear when he heard the news. Colonel Emily Red Tape Walker hadn't meant to discover the galaxy's greatest weakness. She'd just been trying to file the proper forms for Lieutenant Rodriguez's tactical glitter acquisition request when she noticed something interesting. The most advanced civilizations in space had never encountered bureaucracy. Fascinating, she muttered, surrounded by stacks of paperwork in her office. They've never had to deal with a DMV. Colonel, Smartus chimed in. The aggressive hegemony fleet is approaching. Their commander claims our existence offends their efficiency standards. Walker smiled the smile of someone who had once made an IRS auditor cry. Perfect. Prepare Operation Paper Cut. The hegemony's first demand for surrender was met with a 247-page requisition form for surrender processing and enemy status application. When they refused to fill it out, Walker sent them the appeals package. What is this? The hegemony commander demanded, their holographic image showing visible confusion. Why do we need to submit our invasion plans in triplicate? Oh, that's just the pre-invasion documentation, Walker replied sweetly. You'll also need to fill out forms C-137 through Z-999 for intent to conquer and provide 3 forms of identification for each ship captain. This is absurd. We are the most efficient military force in the galaxy. And yet, Walker clicked her pen ominously. You haven't even started on your mandatory training certificates. I'm afraid I'll have to mark you as non-compliant. Captain Martinez found Walker in her office later, orchestrating what could only be described as psychological warfare through administrative means. Status report, Martinez asked, watching endless streams of forms being transmitted to the enemy fleet. They're currently stuck on the hostile intent survey. Walker grinned. I added a section about pizza preferences just to make Thompson and O'Brien happy. The hegemony's next transmission was borderline hysterical. Why do we need a permit for evil laughter? And what is this mandatory fun day requirement? Oh dear, Walker's voice dripped with false concern. You haven't completed your workplace safety training either. I'm going to need you to watch this 6-hour presentation on proper ergonomics during planetary conquest. Smartus monitored the enemy fleet's deteriorating condition. Their ships are now filled with pending paperwork. 3 captains have requested early retirement. 1 is asking about our dental plan. Send them the benefits package, Walker ordered. All 97 pages of it. And don't forget the section about coffee break regulations that Major Jackson added. The hegemony's surrender came 3 days later, buried in the middle of a 500-page response to Walker's customer satisfaction survey. Their only condition was to never receive another form again. The citation for Walker's victory read, "For successfully defeating an enemy fleet through strategic application of administrative hell, and for proving that the pen is mightier than the plasma cannon when properly backed by sufficient paperwork." You know, Lieutenant Thompson said during the debrief, I should probably add a section about bureaucratic combat to the manual. Already done, Walker replied, stamping a form. You'll find it after you fill out these requisition forms. in triplicate, with purple ink. The Galactic Council, upon reviewing the incident, created a new classification of weapon: administrative warfare, approach with extreme caution, and a good filing system. The hegemony has filed an insurance claim, Smartest reported. They're citing extreme mental anguish and exposure to Earth-level bureaucracy as damages. Send them the claims processing package, Walker smiled. The one with the 17-page cover sheet. Martinez just shook her head. I can't believe you defeated an entire fleet with paperwork. Not just paperwork, Walker corrected. Weaponized bureaucracy. There's a form for the difference. Somewhere in the galaxy, a former hegemony commander woke up screaming about tax forms and mandatory sensitivity training. Their therapist had to file 3 different forms just to document the trauma. You know what the best part is, Walker mused later. They still haven't found the clause about mandatory quarterly performance reviews. Admiral James' task failed successfully. Morgan stood on the bridge of the U.S. Inconvenience, watching as the galaxy's greatest threat approached. The Cosmic Horror Collective, as they called themselves, had already consumed 3 solar systems. Status report on our assets, he commanded. Captain Martinez is ready with the pizza-based diplomatic package, Smartest reported. Lieutenant Thompson has updated the manual to include Eldritch combat protocols. Major Jackson has modified every coffee maker on board into what she claims are definitely not quantum weapons. Morgan nodded. And the others? Commander O'Brien has prepared the hot sauce arsenal. Tech Specialist Anderson has her memes ready. Lieutenant Rodriguez has armed the glitter bombs. And Colonel Walker has the paperwork. Perfect. Begin Operation Clusterfuck. The enemy's first transmission was exactly what Morgan expected. We are the Cosmic Horror Collective. Resistance is. Yeah, Morgan interrupted. Please fill out Form XK 1999 for intent to consume reality before continuing. Colonel Walker is very strict about proper documentation. The Cosmic Horrors paused. What? Also, Morgan continued, you'll need to complete our cultural sensitivity training. Lieutenant Rodriguez has prepared a special session on proper pronouns for multidimensional entities. Before the enemy could respond, Major Jackson's coffee makers activated, turning their tentacles into modern art installations that played lofi beats. Commander O'Brien's specialized hot sauce missiles added a spicy dimension to their existential dread. What is happening? The collective demanded. Why do we taste colors? Oh, that's just phase 1, Morgan grinned. Tech Specialist Anderson, show them what Earth culture really means. The meme barrage that followed would have made an eye cry. The collective's psychic network was flooded with cat videos, dad jokes, and what Rodriguez called tactical-grade rickrolls. Lieutenant Thompson, Morgan called, implement protocol, yeet the Eldritch. The U.S. Inconvenience's crew executed perfect nonsense maneuvers, their battle formations choreographed to never gonna give you up, while Martinez launched what she called extra cheesy diplomatic rounds. They're trying to adapt, Smartest reported, but they can't figure out if we're geniuses or idiots. Perfect. Colonel Walker released the final form. The collective's leadership received a 10,000-page document titled Mandatory Registration for Reality-Consuming Entities. Please complete in triplicate. The appendix alone included 17 different pizza preference surveys. This makes no sense, the Cosmic Horrors wailed. There's no logic to your actions. That's the point, Morgan replied. You can't predict what we'll do because even we don't know. We just do things and call it strategy afterward. The collected surrender came with a note. We cannot consume a species that operates on pure chaos energy. Also, please stop sending us coffee-flavored memes. We're pretty sure those violate several laws of physics. The Galactic Council's official report labeled the incident the most successfully failed military operation in history, or why we let humans handle the weird stuff. You combined every ridiculous tactic we've ever used, Martine said during the victory celebration. How did you know it would work? I didn't, Morgan admitted. I just figured, if one human making no sense causes problems, all of us making no sense at once would be unstoppable. Smartus added a new entry to the ship's database. Victory achieved through strategic application of whatever the hell that was. The citation for the entire crew read, for saving reality by making absolutely no sense, and for proving that sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all. You know, Thompson mused, reviewing his manual, I should add a section about this. Already done, Walker replied, holding up a form. Just need your signature in 3 places. Use the rainbow glitter pen Rodriguez provided. Somewhere in the cosmos, the Cosmic Horror Collective began mandatory sensitivity training, led by a hologram of Rodriguez, teaching them the importance of proper meme usage in multidimensional communication. And on the U.S. Inconveniences Bridge, Morgan smiled. If you don't know what you're doing, neither can the enemy. Should I file this under successful missions, or why we're not allowed to write military doctrine anymore? Smartass asked. Yes, the entire crew responded in unison.